If you really want to understand why Japan has one of the lowest cancer mortality rates in the world, the answer isn't found in their hospitals or genetics. It lies in what millions of Japanese adults consistently do within the first 30 minutes of waking up every day. Long-term research conducted in regions like Okinawa and Nagano, areas known for exceptional longevity, revealed a consistent pattern. The key factor wasn't meditation or cold exposure, but a specific sequence of morning dietary habits that appear to directly influence how cancer cells grow, survive, and replicate. Many people assume genetics explains Japan's lower cancer rates, but this belief doesn't hold up under scrutiny. When Japanese individuals move to Western countries and adopt Western lifestyles, their cancer risk rises within 1 or 2 generations. Their DNA doesn't change, only their habits do. This clearly shows that lifestyle, especially diet and daily routines, plays a dominant role in cancer prevention. As explained by Dr. Liana, an emergency physician with years of clinical experience and a focus on cancer biology, this topic is deeply personal and grounded in scientific research. She emphasizes that many patients deteriorate not because treatment options are unavailable, but because they were never informed about how their daily habits influence disease progression. What she presents is not anecdotal. It is based on mechanistic science and peer-reviewed research that explains how specific morning behaviors can shape the internal biological environment where cancer either thrives or fails. The first 2 hours after waking represent a powerful biological window for DNA repair and cancer defense. During this time, the body undergoes intense cellular activity. Millions of cells divide every second, and with each division comes the risk of DNA errors. As we age, 3 critical systems weaken simultaneously. DNA repair efficiency declines, immune surveillance becomes less aggressive, and the body's ability to prevent tumor blood supply formation, angiogenesis, decreases. This last factor is especially critical because once a tiny cluster of abnormal cells gains access to blood vessels, it can expand dramatically in a very short time. Morning is the most effective period to intervene because of the natural cortisol surge shortly after waking, which primes immune cells, especially natural killer cells, to actively detect and eliminate abnormal cells. The traditional Japanese morning routine enhances these defense systems through 3 key pathways. First, fermented foods increase levels of a beneficial gut bacterium called Akkermansia mucinifila, which plays a major role in enabling the immune system to recognize and destroy cancer cells. Second, green tea, especially matcha, contains a compound called EGCG that can block signals cancer cells use to develop blood supply, essentially preventing tumors from growing. Third, the combination of nutrients such as polyphenols and methyl donors supports DNA repair processes, reducing accumulated damage that increases cancer risk. This routine is built on 3 main elements. The first is consuming high-quality green tea within 30 minutes of waking, prepared at a precise temperature to preserve its active compounds. The second is eating a fermented food, traditionally natto, which significantly improves gut microbiome health. The third is practicing moderate caloric intake, known as hara hachibu, meaning eating until about 80% full. This mild restriction activates autophagy, a cellular cleaning process that removes damaged components and precancerous debris. Together, these elements form a comprehensive morning defense system that supports immune function, blocks tumor growth, and enhances cellular repair. Scientific evidence strongly supports these practices. Large-scale studies have shown that regular green tea consumption is associated with reduced risk of multiple cancers. Other research demonstrates that EGCG can selectively trigger death in cancer cells while leaving healthy cells intact. Meanwhile, dietary interventions that promote beneficial gut bacteria have shown dramatic improvements in immune response. Studies also confirm that combining green tea with fermented foods reduces measurable DNA damage over time, effects that rival pharmaceutical interventions. The practical routine begins with waking and waiting about 20 minutes before consuming anything, allowing the body's natural hormonal activation to complete. Then, a cup of properly prepared matcha tea is consumed, without dairy, as milk proteins block absorption of beneficial compounds. Adding lemon significantly enhances absorption. This is followed by a fermented food or an accessible alternative like pomegranate juice combined with probiotic foods. Breakfast should be nutrient-dense but moderate in quantity, stopping before full satisfaction to trigger beneficial cellular processes. Exposure to morning sunlight for at least 10 minutes is also essential as it regulates circadian rhythms that directly influence DNA repair and immune activity. However, certain common habits can completely negate these benefits. Adding dairy to tea drastically reduces its effectiveness. Consuming high-sugar breakfasts suppresses immune activity during this critical window. Skipping fermented foods weakens gut-related defenses, and relying on supplements instead of whole foods reduces overall effectiveness and may even cause harm. Ultimately, the key takeaway is that after the age of 50, the body's natural defense systems decline, but they are not fixed. They can be influenced daily through simple, consistent habits, especially during the morning window. The Japanese lifestyle demonstrates this clearly. Small, consistent actions compound into significant long-term protection. These habits do not guarantee immunity from disease, but they measurably shift the body toward a state that resists cancer development. The most important factor is consistency. Maintaining these habits regularly is far more effective than attempting perfection and giving up. To make this routine truly practical and sustainable, it's important to understand that perfection is not required. Consistency is what drives results. Many people assume that if they cannot follow every step exactly, it's not worth starting at all. But the biology behind these habits doesn't work that way. The benefits accumulate over time through repetition. For example, the growth of beneficial gut bacteria like Akkermansia mucinifila depends on regular nourishment. It doesn't spike overnight. It builds gradually with consistent dietary signals. Similarly, the anti-cancer effects of compounds like EGCG are not a one-time event. They act as repeated daily signals that help regulate processes like angiogenesis. Missing a day doesn't erase progress, but abandoning the habit entirely does. Another key insight is that preparation and convenience play a major role in long-term adherence. While the idea of preparing fresh matcha every morning may sound ideal, it's not realistic for everyone. Fortunately, research suggests that matcha prepared in advance and stored properly can retain most of its beneficial compounds. This means you can prepare your tea the night before and still gain nearly the same effect the next day. The small reduction in potency is far less important than the consistency gained by having the habit ready and easy to follow. One of the simplest yet most powerful additions to this routine is lemon. Adding the juice of half a lemon to green tea isn't just about taste, it significantly enhances the absorption of beneficial compounds. Vitamin C creates an environment in the digestive system that protects these compounds from breaking down too early, allowing more of them to enter the bloodstream. Studies have shown that this simple addition can increase absorption multiple times over, making it one of the highest impact, lowest effort improvements you can make. It's also important to consider environmental factors, particularly light exposure. Many people underestimate the role of circadian rhythm in cancer prevention, but it is deeply connected to how the body regulates cell repair and immune function. Morning sunlight acts as a signal that synchronizes your internal clock, influencing genes responsible for controlling cell division and DNA repair. When this rhythm is disrupted, such as in people who rarely get morning light exposure, it can impair these protective systems. In fact, chronic disruption of circadian rhythm is now recognized as a probable carcinogen. Even a short period of natural light exposure each morning can help maintain proper biological timing and strengthen your body's defense systems. Another factor that deserves attention is body composition, specifically visceral fat. Unlike subcutaneous fat, which is visible under the skin, visceral fat surrounds internal organs and actively produces inflammatory compounds. These compounds can interfere with immune surveillance and promote conditions that allow cancer cells to grow. This is why waist circumference is often a more meaningful indicator of risk than overall body weight. Two individuals can weigh the same, yet have very different levels of internal fat and therefore very different health risks. For individuals with higher visceral fat, adopting this morning routine becomes even more critical, and adding light physical activity, such as walking after breakfast, can significantly enhance results. Bringing all of this together, the overall picture becomes clear. As the body ages, its natural defense mechanisms, DNA repair, immune surveillance, and control of tumor growth gradually weaken. However, these systems are still highly responsive to daily inputs. The first hours after waking represent a unique opportunity to influence these processes when they are most active. By combining green tea consumption, fermented foods, moderate caloric intake, and light exposure, this routine targets all three major defense pathways simultaneously. The significance of this approach lies in its simplicity and accessibility. These are not complex medical interventions or expensive treatments. They are everyday habits that can be implemented immediately. Yet their effects are measurable, supported by research, and aligned with what we observe in populations with exceptional longevity. The Japanese lifestyle didn't arrive at these habits through modern science. They developed them through generations of observation and tradition. Science is now catching up and explaining why they work. Ultimately, this routine is not about eliminating risk entirely because no intervention can offer that guarantee. Instead, it's about shifting the internal environment of the body in a direction that makes it less favorable for cancer to develop and progress. It's about strengthening the systems that already exist within you. And most importantly, it's about recognizing that the choices made in the quiet moments of the morning, before the day fully begins, can have a lasting impact on long-term health. What makes this entire approach so powerful is not just the individual components, but how they work together in a synchronized way. Most health advice focuses on isolated actions. Drink this, avoid that, take this supplement. But the human body doesn't operate in isolation. It functions as an interconnected system where timing, sequence, and combination matter just as much as the individual elements themselves. The Japanese morning routine is effective because it aligns multiple biological systems at the exact moment they are most responsive. It is not just what is consumed, but when and how it is consumed that creates the compounding effect. Think about it this way. During the early morning window, your immune system is already on high alert, scanning for abnormal cells. Your DNA repair mechanisms are actively working to correct errors from the previous day. Your hormonal signals are primed to regulate metabolism and cellular activity. When you introduce the right nutrients and behaviors at this exact time, you are not starting the process. You are amplifying something that is already happening. That amplification is what creates measurable, long-term protection. What's equally important and often overlooked is how modern lifestyles quietly disrupt this natural advantage. Late-night eating, poor sleep, artificial lighting, and rushed mornings all interfere with the body's timing systems. Instead of supporting the morning biological window, many people unknowingly suppress it. Skipping breakfast or replacing it with processed, high-sugar foods sends the wrong signals to the body at the worst possible time. Adding dairy to tea blocks key compounds. Ignoring sunlight keeps internal clocks misaligned. Over time, these small disruptions accumulate, gradually weakening the very systems that are designed to protect you. There is also a psychological component that cannot be ignored. Many people view cancer prevention as something distant or out of their control, something that depends on genetics, luck, or medical intervention later in life. But what this research shows is that prevention is not a single decision. It is a daily practice. It is built through small, repeatable actions that shape the internal environment of the body over years. The Japanese approach reflects this mindset. It is not driven by fear or urgency, but by quiet consistency. The routine is simple enough to sustain, yet powerful enough to create meaningful change. Another critical insight is that this routine is adaptable. While the traditional version includes specific foods like matcha and natto, the underlying principles can be applied anywhere in the world. The goal is not to perfectly replicate Japanese culture, but to understand the function behind each element. If natto is not accessible, other fermented foods can support gut health. If matcha is unavailable, high-quality green tea still provides similar compounds. If mornings are busy, preparation can be adjusted without losing effectiveness. The strength of this system lies in its flexibility. It can fit into real life without requiring extreme changes. Over time, these habits begin to compound in ways that are not immediately visible. You won't feel your DNA repairing itself. You won't notice your immune cells becoming more effective. You won't see angiogenesis being suppressed at a microscopic level. But these processes are happening continuously, beneath the surface, shaping your long-term health trajectory. This is why patience is essential. The absence of immediate feedback does not mean the absence of impact. In fact, the most important biological changes are often the ones you never feel directly. So when you step back and look at the bigger picture, the message becomes clear. After the age of 50 and even before, your body is not simply declining. It is responding. It is adapting to the signals it receives every day. Those signals come from your environment, your habits, and especially from how you start your morning. The first hour after waking is not just the beginning of your day, it is a decision point that influences everything that follows at a cellular level. The Japanese didn't necessarily design this routine with modern science in mind, but their traditions aligned with biological principles that we are only now beginning to fully understand. What was once cultural wisdom is now supported by research, data, and measurable outcomes. And that gives you something powerful, the ability to act with both intuition and evidence. In the end, this is not about fear, it's about control. Not control over everything, but control over what is within your reach. The habits you choose in the morning may seem small, almost insignificant in the moment, but over months and years, they become the foundation of your health. They shape how your body repairs itself, how it defends itself, and how it ages. And that means the opportunity to influence your future health is not something far away. It begins tomorrow morning with the very first choices you make.